Good morning. Thanks, organizer, for organizing this event. Actually, I am not right person for this gathering, but I have come here to listen and understand the issues inside the state. But let me first create the ambience of what I'm going to talk about. What all has happened in India? We now have a very large grid. In interstate open access, one can literally buy from anywhere to anywhere for 15 minutes, 1 megawatt. And that is actually happening. This is something, to me, is a dream for such a large grid. And every state is balancing his portfolio, trying to economize at a larger picture. And that is something which we should all appreciate. You have now a large market. You have access to market. States, if they have not been able to build generator, can buy from some other state which has excess generation. If you have built excess generation, you can sell, and there is competition, fierce competition, pan-India. One of my mentor in power sector has been Sally Hunt. She was an economist, but she understood right from consumer to the designers and the policymakers and the regulators in great depth. I would recommend, if anybody is interested on the intellectual side, you can read 2 books of her. One is Competition and Choice in Electricity. It's available in public domain. You can search Sally Hunt, you can read it. And second one was Making Competition Work in Electricity. All the issues which we raise are so nicely articulated by an economist that this is what will happen, then this is how the regulators will say, this is how the policymakers will say, this is how the consumer will start suffering, then again how the suppliers will change, and what is the right prescription. So let me go by that. We are moving exactly in that direction. Today, you have 4 dozen traders in interstate, licensed 4 dozen traders. We have exchange where for every 15 minutes, more than 2,000 people are competing, both buyer and seller, and a price is getting discovered. One of the most robust power discovery design an economist can think of. Neither it's buyer market nor it's seller's market, but a right price discovery, uniform clearing price. And what has happened over the last 8 years? The price being discovered is coming down. It's clearly giving signal when the prices are high, when the prices are low. It is almost double from night lean to morning peak. And all this information is available in public domain. There is an archive available. You can see the trend for last 8 years, how the informed consumer, informed players have been behaving. There is another gentleman whom I take it as my mentor in absentia, is Stephen Toft. He says that the old concept of there is a generator and there is a distributor is no longer valid. He says that it is now either a BICO or a CELCO. It is no more a generator or a distributor. And then he goes on to say that there are no BICO or CELCO, they are all PLECOs. Everybody is a player in the market. You can change your position depending on the price. And that we see day in, day out nowadays. Which state, how will he balance his portfolio is something very interesting to watch. Friends, I am just mentioning this because what has been achieved, we should first appreciate, and then what further can be done, certainly we can discuss about this. Another very important point is, we are talking of a fungible commodity. It's not a commodity where you order and it gets delivered exactly like that. It gets delivered by displacement. The exact delivery of electricity is only a coincidence. You will be either long or short in your delivery or in your consumption. So when we are talking of electricity, we must understand the basic characteristics of the product which you are talking about. Right. What has happened over the last couple of years? All the rules, regulations, policies were by and large considering chronic shortage. Market was created, interstate open access has been given, reforms, unbundling, and plethora of regulations have come, investment has come in the sector. And today, we have almost self-sufficiency, and at times, little surplus available with us. So when you move from an acute shortage to self-sufficiency, certainly it upsets the market. It happens in any market, so has happened in electricity. But it will stabilize gradually. Now the load has started building up. Unserved load is, you can't allow that, so we want to meet maximum load. So these are the basic changes which I hope everybody appreciates. Now next comes, I would say that there is no silver bullet. There is no silver bullet for good health. There is no silver bullet for reliable power system operation. And there is no silver bullet for market, or in other words, what we call open access. We have to have many, many building blocks in place. And we have to see that the utilities interest is taken care of, the state as a whole, its interest is taken care of, consumers' interest is taken care of, and it has to be sustainable, implementable, manageable. I can go on, but time limits must be honored. I would recommend that please look at a report, very recent report, which has been prepared by Forum of Regulators. The report is called Scheduling, Accounting, Metering, and Settlement of Transaction. The report is acronymed SAMAST. This report we have prepared after consulting all large states, renewable-rich states, smaller states, exporting states, importing states, as to what exactly is to be done. The gist of that report is that rate can change, volume can change, but basic accounting principle has to be in place. And if a business does not do its accounting very truthfully, with double entry system, with every budget balancing, then we are just trying to grope in the dark. So the test of that is what we have tried to implement in our humble way with mentors like Dr. Pramod Dev guiding throughout, is that at interstate level, for every 15 minutes, what exactly is the loss on the transmission is calculated. Everything is accounted for. Every contract is converted into a schedule. Every deviation is correctly priced so that everybody's behavior improves. Both of the consumer, both of the utility, and we get the best solution. So that efficiency comes and it causes overall economy. And in the process, there is choice and there is fierce competition. The point which was raised about conflict of interest, about a neutral operator, about correct metering, needs to be repeated again and again. Without that, we will not be able to arrive at anything. So the Samast report, my suggestion would be that please have a look at it. You will understand, and probably more from the utility side, the regulator side, that what needs to be done on this. Having said so, certainly we need institutional arrangements. And making good institutional arrangement is probably the toughest. Engineers are very good at writing technical specifications, lawyers write contracts, economists specify the prices, but none of them would be successful unless we can have sustainable, robust institutions. And this is very well articulated by all the experts in power system, be it World Bank, be it ADB. When I talk of institution, certainly government, of course, is there. It pronounces policy, but regulatory institutions, system operator institution, transmission institutions, these have to be strengthened. It's not a small job to settle, to clear, looking at the transmission, looking at the tariff, and everything in real time for thousands and thousands of consumers. You need black belt operators. You need enough strength in the regulatory commission to analyze how it will be done. You need in utilities to properly plan. So strengthening is very important. Another very important area is the jurisdiction. I learned that system operation is not only in the control room, it is also from the courtroom of the regulatory commissions. So first thing they test is whether it's my jurisdiction or not. But when we talk of electricity also, whenever the jurisdiction changes, the rules change. We have to understand that. So interstate, inside the state, from one DISCOM, power changes hand. When it changes hand, then how to deal with it? So how to harmonize these practices at pan-India level is also a challenge for all of us. But we are working on this. Other administrative issues are not to be undermined. The entire IT infrastructure, administration of the open access, who tests the transmission, how do we declare transfer capability on the website in a very transparent fashion so that everybody has the access to information. Information is, after all, power. How do we bill? How do we collect money? How do we disburse? How do we reconcile? How do we take care of TDS? Most of the regulations do not talk much about it. But when you really go to the ground level, it is a huge job. We are doing interstate open access, and I found that somebody from Tamil Nadu, a consumer, has bought from a generator in Punjab. Now imagine what all has to be done. You have to look at whether there is a transmission congestion around the DISCOM in Tamil Nadu, then at the state level, then at the regional level, then you go to the western region hands over power to northern region hands over to Punjab state, then Punjab state hands it over to the DISCOM, and then finally it goes. So the power flows through so many seams, and seams handling is very, very tricky, and we need to work on that. There are challenges before DISCOM also. Of course, Mr. Deshpande is there. They are better positioned to talk about. But how do they estimate demand? If our open access keeps switching, how much they should book in future, the generation in long term, the uncertainty, the switching of the open access consumer, their procurement strategies. And I would say that the timelines are also very important. And we have learned over the 12 years that rules have to be modified very frequently, even at the cost of regulatory fatigue. We realized that the contracts, the open access, it was getting converted into a kind of a option. Whether the contracts are contracts or have they become call and put options in a different way. We need a huge market monitoring cell. CRC comes out with the report, but still the kind of country we have, we need huge monitoring cell as to how people are behaving. Timeline is important in the sense that if you want open access, then network has to be seen. Without network, the grid will not be able to sustain it. And you need reliable power first, then comes the cheaper power. So every operator in the whole sequence has to check the network availability. And for that, the timeline becomes very important. If you want to do a transaction in the next 1 hour, every operator throughout the chain has to look at this, whether it is available or not, whether it is planned or not. And these are seasonal in nature. So I thought that also I would mention that that's very important. We would very soon be needing not only SLDCs, which are very well equipped, but we will be needing distribution system operator also. If open access at the distribution level has to work, we will needing DSOs who understands the distribution very well and of course is neutral, fair, and follows the regulation. So that's another part. Coming to Mr. Haridhal's point about renewables. Recently, the regulation on renewable has come interstate. We have started implementing also. The success has been quite good. They are also to be scheduled. And they are also to be forecasted. They also would be subjected to deviation. Now, how much allowance is to be allowed, that is the regulator's call, which they have already taken. And they have given a clear signal that gradually you make it tighter. And that's how we have a very ambitious target of 175 gigawatts. If it's a small quantum, you can manage any way. But for this kind of a large quantum, we need forecasting, we need scheduling, we need ancillary services, which have already started in the last 6 months. And renewables have to be treated exactly the way you treat anything else. And I was talking to some of the manufacturers, they were telling that as a renewable, they can provide everything what a conventional can provide and something more because they have a lot of digital things, unlike conventional plants which are large inertia and analog in nature. So I'm sure that we will be able to integrate them. What we would expect is that the consumer should be correctly forecasting, scheduling has to be pakka, accounting has to be very faithfully done, and the whole systems and processes have to be automated, meter readings for in fact, we are moving from 15 minutes to 5 minutes. Now the price discovery in the market earlier used to happen in 1 hour, but we moved to 15 minutes, and it has given us excellent results. We can get very granular and very fine price discovery. Maybe we will move towards 5 minutes so that you get even more fine ramping and other aspects. So let me stop here saying that we need entire system to be in place. And overall economy has to be caused. The grid has to remain secure. Competition has to be there. Of course, the choice has to be there for the consumer and also for the generators. At the end, the money has to be paid. Who will pay to whom for what is the end of the settlement system throughout the grid. And integrity and probity of the entire process has to be put in place for making it sustainable. Thank you.
Mr. Soonee, I'm not letting you off the hook. 2 quick questions. It's a very rare to have him. He's a very difficult man to catch. How do you, when you schedule power from Tamil Nadu, which is wind power, into Maharashtra, how does the system identify this as green power in 15-minute or 5-minute time blocks is the question I have.
Yeah. See, whenever we schedule power, we know the source, we know the sink. One will not have to know about which transmission path it will take. In the country, the transmission is considered as a common carrier. You have to only inject power into the grid and draw power on the grid. Transmission charges are paid accordingly. Losses are also accounted accordingly. That's also a very landmark reform which has taken place very silently, and that's how we are able to have so much of transaction. So we don't have to know about this. So we know source and sink. Now, as far as the deviation of that is concerned, if you have put the schedule, if you have put the meter with 0.2% class accuracy, you can find out every 15 minutes what is the deviation. But of course, the renewable is slightly, variability is there, intermittence is there. So the renewable has been given 16 chances to revise the schedule. You have some contract, but you are long by, let's say if you have a 100 megawatt contract, you are now come to 90. After some time, you go to 110. You can watch your generation and then modify your schedule. Come closer to what is actually happening 16 times. So every hour one can do. So at the most, it will be only half an hour or 1 hour that you will deviate, and you will deviate in the right direction. The point is, in a grid, every player will try to maximize his gains. We have to make the rules so that his behavior improves. So across the schedule, he must have a Brownian motion. He cannot have a steady error. If there is a steady error, that clearly identifies that he is intentionally doing this. So all such rules, I am not getting into the nitty-gritties because I would love to do that. But the kind of people who are there, I thought it's no point my articulating all the clauses and sub-clauses and why we have put that. But we can, I'm open to that. So,
Thank you, sir.
This is how the renewables are there. And now when we talk about elsewhere in the world, they are all falling in line. We can improve.
Thank you.
Thank you.